Nice seeing you. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm wicked excited to
No pun
meet
intended.
you. Yeah, no pun intended. But yeah, I'm glad you could get the whole team together. This is great.
Well, we lived together, so it wasn't too hard. Pulling out of the shower or whatever was the worst thing. Leads to
Really, I'm excited about this show that you have coming up, but you have a lot of other kind of really, really cool things happening, it sounds like, right? You have a new album coming out, Sunburn, you got this video
right.
coming up. Maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty stoked. Like you said, we do have this Salem show coming up on the 28th, which if anybody's been to Salem around Halloween, they know that the place is just mob this time of year, and we have a pretty cool back history of like the area itself. It's kind of like our second home, we always say. Maybe about like what, 8 years ago? When was the first time we went to Salem?
Yeah, around there.
Then it was for
Quite a
Halloween.
while ago.
Yeah. We were doing the thing, right? Like Halloween. Wow, it's got this like spooky Mardi Gras like vibe, shoulder to shoulder crowds. But we ended up running into this couple that had this Hermetic Arts store, like a magic head shop,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
became fast friends. Just salt of the earth people, David and Maria. And they still have a shop down on Essex to this day, and they've kind of moved around a little bit. But
Yeah.
David um, is just a huge rock and roll fan and a guitarist himself. Musically trained, schooling wise, and so every time we get together, we just jam. And so the last 2 years we've gone to Salem and we've kind of pulled him in and said, let's do half of our set and like give David a little day in the sand, and we do a little special. We rarely ever do covers or any kind of stuff like that. So we're like, once a year, Halloween, let's do a little Black Sabbath with our friend because that's his
Yeah.
favorite. So it's freaking awesome, man. We got a good like 45 minutes of Sabbath all tuned up, and Dave's gonna guest on there. And then we'll do about an hour or more of Wicked originals. So we're super stoked. The Salem Waterfront Hotel, really cool venue. They're going all out with production, so it should be a classic Wicked show, which we always define as just bombastic, high energy rock and roll, man.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, and you got hooked up with like real magic, like that. That's like,
Yeah.
this is not like, parlor stuff. Like, I've been there. I'm part of that community personally too, and it's like, I've been to several of his talks and everything, and he has great guests coming in. So totally awesome that you hooked up with David and Maria and
That's kind of like a little like fringe thing that like it's always in the background of like where we're sitting or what we're doing and in our music, but we don't come out, kind of like how Zeppelin didn't come out front and like exactly like boast about it. But the train spotters and the fans that are really into it, they kind of see and they know like a little bit of what's going on. And like, yeah, we love that community. It's really interesting to us, and great people. So a lot of fun being around that community, and Dave and Maria and the whole crew. So
yeah, yeah.
we're excited. And then we got the single coming out.
Yeah, November 3rd.
Yeah.
Lost in the Dark. Yep. So we got a new single and music video coming out November 3rd.
Okay, okay.
That kind of kicks off the campaign of the Sunburn album.
Yeah.
So where did that name come from? Like, why'd you call it Sunburn?
Well, it's funny. The album Sunburn itself and the self-entitled single kind of is like our, when we were like writing, we were trying to put together like the next album after our previous one, Last American Rock Band, and we're like, the band's evolving, it's changing a bit. It's still the same old like to the core rock and roll band, but we're growing up as individuals, and we've been through some shit that we've learned from and grown from. And I think Sunburn's like that idea of a little bit too much of a good time, right? Like it's that in excess, like and you just keep returning. And even though that sitting out on the beach is gonna burn you, you're like, I got to do it because I love being out there. And it's just like a little silly metaphor for kind of that rock and roll lifestyle that we've been through ourselves a bit. So the album kind of touches on that topic in totality. So
Any favorites? You know, any things I mean, you're obviously you're proud of the whole thing, but like any real, you know, cool things that came out of the album in your opinion?
Recording process was really fun. It was different from we did Last American Rock. Well, the songs on there, yeah, it was just a different process. You know, it was
Taking it to the next level.
yeah, it was
With our producer Nacho. Ironically, again, back to that backstory, Maria's son from Panama comes up and she gets them up there into Brooklyn, into Salem, and he ends up moving up near us in Western New York. And it's like we're like family. It's crazy. But this guy is like a godsend. I mean,
like the story is he didn't live up here. He had just moved to Brooklyn, right? He was in Brooklyn from Panama. He only been here like a year or so.
Yeah.
And we kind of we're talking a little bit back and forth about doing something together. And then he came up and stayed with us the whole summer while we were writing and recording that album.
Recording Sunburn, yeah.
We had built a little guest room for him. He stayed here. We partied and we recorded and we just had a blast for the whole
time. Well, and it was more than that. We built a studio first within like, you know, prior to that with him, like kind of like,
yeah, like he was giving us advice on how to build the studio before he came up, because it was like the COVID whole like lockdown. We're like, well, we can't leave, so let's just make everything we need here.
Yeah, so we were really self-sufficient in DIY. Like the album wasn't just like, hey, we're gonna go down the street to your local, recording studio and just cut something and it's just another day in the park. It was like we went from like absolutely nothing to teaming up with Nacho.
We're so used to it. I always forget that we have
building like
our basement.
Everything that all the tools that we needed to start making the album and demoing and pre-production. So it was really cool. It was, it's been a couple of years in the making, really.
You can't beat the comfortability of having like all your best friends in your house and then just being able to be like, all right, what time you want to go downstairs and start? Like, you want to?
Yeah, you're not looking at regiment or
you want to have
schedule.
a couple of shots first. You want to have lunch. What do you want to do? And then we'll go down and we'll cut some fucking crazy tracks.
I think the comfortability really made it a lot easier to go through the recording process and kind of bring out like the more artsy side of like focusing on like certain things like tone and like really dialing in everything. Especially for me, like doing the singing parts. Like being in your house and being able to like take your time and really nail it. That was it was really important for me. It's probably one of my favorite parts is like doing the vocals in our own studio, being proud of something that we built, And
we're like when we disagree on something, we like are fighting on the floor, wrestling and punching each other in the face. There's no budget on the line. There's no budget. There's no engineers that don't know us that are like scared. It's just everybody knows this is how the process works.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So like, anytime the idea strikes, you can just like head down there, just take care of business. And
I mean, it was just like yesterday. Awesome. We're like, we're getting ready for the Salem show, of course, but we're like cutting some content for the new single Lost in the Dark coming up and kind of having fun with it, doing some like video shorts and whatnot. And they were like, shit, I got a song idea. Let's sit down and grab the 2 guitars and just start writing some lyrics. And that kind of stuff happens all the time. And it actually happened during the Sunburn album process, which is my favorite part.
Sunburn wasn't even a song. It wasn't.
Well, it wasn't. Well, yeah, Sunburn, but like, I mean, even beyond that, like we had 10 songs kind of like all pre-produced and in like well into the process. And we were sitting on the front porch. Nacho was just kind of unwinding at the end of, a long day with us. And I was kind of playing something that we had just done like that, like a little demo. And it was this like completely left field, like nothing that we've ever touched on in terms of like style of like rock and roll or writing for the band. And it was just this like very like heartfelt song. Yeah, called Summer and Sun, and it was for our grandmother that had recently passed, and she was like a grandmother to all of us. Really close knit kind of family group of people here, like, and we treat everybody's family like that. So it's like a big unit that like just is so close. And he was like, we got to put that on the album, and it just came out amazing. I'm excited for people to hear like that. The brevity of what we could do and what we're kind of like moving towards is it's not just every song being a hard rock heavy song.
It kind of takes you through like a little story and ups and downs, and it's really enjoyable to listen to through and through.
That one was a last minute ad, and then there was like I was saying though, Sunburn,
Yeah.
the song that became the album title, as like Nacho was driving to our house, like he was en route to like come and produce the album, and that's when we literally on that day he was driving here, we wrote the song that became the album title.
Sunburn, Lost in the Dark,
It was
Get Away with Enough,
like the last like no, it was like the last like
gorgeous,
half of the album. Yeah, we wrote all
Yeah.
in like 1 week. Yeah.
4 songs in like a week we created, and they ended up being on the new album. It's crazy.
Yeah, it really steered like the whole vibe of it. But yeah, I mean, so we're super excited about, you know, what we've got coming out, and you know, we got like we had a lot of fun with it, like even getting it ready like from on the business end of things, and like getting all the artwork together and just kind of keeping
Which
things
we all did DIY.
DIY.
Yeah, I
all
was gonna ask you about the album cover. It looks pretty cool with the
Yeah, it's actually Scotty. He did that whole thing. I mean, he put the whole package together, and you know, something that I think we're really proud of him doing. You know, it's actually really cool. Once you get the vinyl or the CD, it's cool seeing that whole package.
and you'll start to see like with all the singles that'll come out, like we're kind of like targeting like a March time frame for the album drop, but there'll be singles leading up, and the album drop will kind of align with, we've got plans to go out on a US tour with Raven, so we're really looking forward to that. We'll hit everything from the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, you know, really make a big circle around the US, and a little bit of Canada. So but anyhow, yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff coming out, and you're gonna see like all this cool like artwork stuff that we worked on and came up with in camp. You know, some of the ladies that hang out with us that are artistically inclined, coming up with these characters, and it's just kind of really fun. You know, we're just seeing this like this creativity blossom with this album, and then really just roll into the next, you know, sets of music that we're already writing and recording. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. Maybe we should go back to the roots of the band. Like, you know, how did this happen? Like, you know, I'm hearing Western New York. I'm hearing, you know, lots of different places. Are you all from that area, or you know, how'd y'all meet?
it started with us brothers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we were in Utica, New York, like so like a little bit east of Syracuse, and you know, just growing up, like admiring like, you know, the bands of the 80s, 70s, 90s, you know, like these big formidable acts that like had a stage presence and that like super high energy. And we just wanted that so badly, but it's like the same old song and dance that you hear from like many bands, right? It's like hard to find people, this and that. We were fortunate. We just kept pushing the envelope and looking for people, and that's when we found Scotty online. What was that site you were on?
It was like back in the MySpace days when there was like these offshoots that were like MySpace before, like there's like
This is called Glam Nation, right?
Glam, Glam Nation.
We were like back when
MySpace for Glam.
when we were young, like we just
I missed this. I totally missed
like,
that.
the New York, we just wanted to be the New York Dolls so badly, right? So it was like over the top, like glam, like, you know, we've since kind of like brought in different influences, but it was funny back then. Like we found Scotty and we didn't even know if we could play a lick of guitar. We were just like, he looks so good, he's so androgynous, he's in. Like we picked him up for a weekend, and he hasn't stopped staying over since.
That's awesome.
I learned the guitar stuff later on.
He just wanted to hang out. Yeah.
We had another drummer, JP. JP was awesome, but JP had some health issues that he was kind of like dealing with, and so, you know, he kind of stepped aside, and it was very like fortuitous for us, because like that's when we knew of Gunner, right?
These guys hated me.
We hated
in
him.
the beginning. All these guys hated me.
So a funny story, right?
I used to play with my band with my father. We actually played shows together, and these guys, I beat them at every single drumming competition. I would win everything. And like
That was like the classic thing. There was like in the local area, there was like a local drummer awards thing.
Yeah.
It was our old drummer Josh versus him, and he ended up winning.
yeah, 2 years in a row I won that. Yeah,
That's awesome.
And then what do you know? The next year,
yeah. And then I joined. And now they like.
Now he really has to deal with us.
Light is a strong word.
But yeah, I mean, we eventually moved out to Rochester, New York, and we're lucky enough to find this space. You know, it's a large house. We all, you know, split the rent and own it, and it's just perfect because we could have the studio, we can make noise, be creative, and we do our things. You know, we make this thing sustain. You know, some people know, some people don't. Like, you know, we're engineers by day. These guys are supervisors, but like our dream is in rock and roll, and all we do is once we're done making our, our bread and butter and during the day, we come home and like it's every day, every weekend, every hour, we're just grinding and we just have fun with it, which is why I think we've been doing it for almost 10 years together, and learning and growing. And we're just kind of finally like hitting our stride where we've got Nacho, we've got the quality, we've got some good team and resource behind us, and we're ready to, take this brand and just go from here, and apply the pressure. So
yeah. How's the this is an odd question. I'm kind of an engineer too. Like what kind of does the engineering background help in what you do?
I think it does, because like we're able to understand stuff, but we're so funny because we're able to split that brain and just turn it off and be creative too. Like,
hold on, let me from an outside perspective tell you what it's like living with two engineers. Every time there's any kind of issue or roadblock, they're dissecting it and they're trying to figure out the exact proper route with the least, path of resistance and everything. It's great because we end up getting through every issue with the most, ergonomical way, but it's it's a pain in the ass sometimes.
Yeah. That's awesome though. I mean, it can totally like be. I exactly know what you're talking about. So that's cool. But like with the supervisor stuff, does that give you like a managerial kind of way of looking at things too, right? Are you, Scotty, coming in and usually the one kind of like taking over, or like what's going on there?
Well, yeah, they say that I'm very snobby and opinionated, so yeah, I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Snobby Scotty.
You will hear my opinion, and you will hear it clearly and loudly. Yes.
Gunner's just a jokester. He just sits back and lets it all roll and gets his little one-liners in and jabs. I love it.
That's awesome. For the show next week, costume ideas. Are you playing? You're going to be costumed up. Yeah.
We're gonna do something special for the Sabbath part, the first part of the set.
It's gonna be more of our costume thing.
Yeah,
we're always dressed up as Wicked. So
we it's kind of funny because like every Halloween we have this thing where like either half of us are like vampires or we're doing like black metal makeup, like, so it's kind of always like a traditional thing too. So who knows? Maybe you'll see some,
before show costume.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Maybe a little bit about why what led you to this like New York Dolls style kind of look. What like obviously it's awesome and you pull it off extremely well. So it's so awesome to see that look now, because I miss it a lot too. Kind of growing up in the 80s too and everything. So like what made you kind of take that vibe on?
I think I was like, Chad and I were always hungry for like, you sit down like and you try to like go and like be a music fan, I think at the base of it. And yeah, you could go back and, watch all those old videos and listen to all that music, till you're blue in the face. But at least for us, we're always hungry for something new because that's where the influence comes from. And obviously, it's lean out there in terms of people who are, doing stuff like that. So we just said like, well, we'll do it ourselves. Right. Yeah. Like, we just have a lust for it. And like that eccentric kind of like style.
And that's kind of like where like I started learning how to like make clothes for ourselves, and these guys bought me a sewing machine, making like leather outfits, spandex outfits, all that stuff. One piece, jumpers and all that stuff. And just kind of like really letting that creativity as well, from like a point of like where I'm drawing out like what each costume era looks like, and then you're making it, and then you're changing it up every like 2 to 3 years, and it's just cool to see like how that evolves. But yeah, like Danny and I have always had like big dreams, want to do everything ourselves, really have a hand in the pot, with what we're doing, and I think that's where it all kind of comes into play.
Yeah, it's totally awesome that you're really heavily involved in the complete package, right? You know, the sound, the look, you know, the artwork, you know, right? That's like, you know, it reminds me of like, you know, people like Freddie Mercury designing their own outfits, doing art, things like that. It totally reminds me of that kind of feeling. So that's amazing. So good on
Really
you for
doing
that.
that. You know, who's doing that nowadays anyway? You know, it's like it's
Yeah.
so, you know, far and few between when you find a band who's actually putting on a show, theatrical show or something that you can really walk away with and be like, oh, that's really cool. I kind of want to like go to the store and pick, you know, try to dress like them, you know?
We like it though. It's like funny, like, you know, now you everything's cyclical. You'll see like styles coming back, and like, you know, the 90s is hot now again. And you've seen 70s vibes kind of come and go through clothing styles. And of course now like you got all these artists in these different genres, and they're all, the guys are painting their nails, and we're like, welcome to the party, you know, we've been doing this for a while. Like it's good to see people kind of coming out and like, you know, being a little bit more stylish with their presentation. So
Yeah, it makes a big difference, I think. Totally. You know, it gives you a fan base, you know. And what are the fans like? I've never seen a show. You know, hopefully I'll be there next week to check it out.
absolutely.
But, like, you know, what are the fans like? You know, like what should I expect?
We were talking about this, you know, I don't know if it was another interview or something. We were talking to somebody about it. It's like a Wicked show is so strange because you'll have people from like the age of like 8 to like
Very diverse.
65,
Yeah.
and you'll have rockers, you'll have business people, you'll have engineers, you'll have, you know, I mean, it's just like, it's just a big melting pot.
It's so cool because
so
we always say
strange.
it's about the community and bringing them together. That's the most rewarding part for us, when you're on that stage and seeing that we're able to kind of like just bring people together in a moment that'll never happen again.
Well, it's because most of our biggest fans are like people we're very, you know, people oriented people. So it's like when we meet people,
Yeah.
we connect with them, and then they become like true fans that'll like come drive all over to our shows and stuff. It's like people we actually know from life experiences, not so much like just randoms.
Yeah.
And then they become like lifelong fans.
And it's sweet because like you'll see like a punk rocker and like somebody in a suit and tie that just got out of work, and you know, some goths standing next to them,
yeah.
and it's like, and it doesn't matter like in that moment of like high energy like escape and release through music.
We're
It's
very
the coolest
inclusive.
thing.
It's our community. It's like, we don't care who you are. If you're
Yeah.
a freak, if you're just a normal,
Even
regular
better,
person, just come hang out.
That's awesome. That's great words. Are there any things that you want the fans to know? Something weird about yourselves, you know, that you're comfortable about sharing? Maybe we can go across, and I think that's how wrap
Gunner, you're the weirdest. Let's start with you.
Oh, that's so funny.
Gunner's pretty normal. I don't know.
Gunner's like Dr. Doolittle.
Okay, how so? How
Yeah.
so?
Yeah,
He's the
How many cats do you have?
animal whisperer.
Yeah. I like cats, I guess. That fucked up enough for one.
Gunner like is normally seen like off duty with like 2 cats.
What your
Three dogs
your
and his
sleeping
dad.
situation
Yeah.
look like? Explain your sleeping situation.
Dogs and 3 dogs and 2 cats.
Laying on your chest. There you
All right, that's cool. Any other animals running around the house?
Dogs running around right now. So.
That's why we keep looking over here.
Yeah.
We're hearing like yelping and barking and stuff.
I'm sure they've shit and pissed all over.
It's free reign right now.
Yeah.
What about you, Scott?
What's weird about someone else will have to say that.
There's
a lot.
There's a lot.
I don't know if it's interview appropriate.
Scott's a masochist when it comes to his partners. He likes girls who are trouble. I think that's the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
What's the meme? They can fix me.
What's there to fix? You're perfect. Look at you. How about you, Dan?
That's funny.
I think my thing is like we were talking about earlier is some of my side hobbies in the magic ceremonial magic world. You know, I don't think people that I work with wouldn't guess in a million years that I'm into that kind of stuff, and I just laugh on a daily basis. You know, you hear somebody like talking about something super high level, like, oh, that lady's into sage and this and that. I'm like, you guys don't even know who you're working next to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like lighting a candle is just so weird
Yeah.
for them.
I couldn't even tell you. I don't even know. These guys would have to tell you what's weird about me.
What's weird about him?
Me spending time in the shower getting ready. Maybe. I don't
Listen,
know.
he's a lead singer. All you
Yeah,
need to
lead
know
singer.
is
LSD.
every day he takes at least 3 hours to get ready. It could be
It's
just
not-
to go. It could just be to go and lay down and watch Netflix. And this man looks the best he could look every day,
He will
all the
never be
time.
caught. He will never be caught slacking.
But he is always the last man out the door, and we just joke about it all the time. And we're like, LSD, here we go.
It's because I'm doing everything. We're done.
No, he does. He's like the tech guy too. So it's like we don't know how to set up this whole meeting thing. So we're like waiting for him, but he's also getting ready. So it's like, it was literally 5 minutes before we started this interview that he came down and started setting up the computer and everything.
Well,
We're just,
thank you. It looks great.
Yeah.
No, you got everything right. Eye level's great. Everything, everybody's in frame. Sound is great. So thank you. That's awesome. Well, I'm so excited to meet up with you, and looking forward to the show next week. Looking forward to all the stuff coming out in the near future. I'm sure everybody's excited about that, and I really wish you good luck with everything.
Thank you, man. We really appreciate it.